People often misunderstand what love really means. They think it's just passion or excitement or chemistry. But those are only surface-level phenomena, biological impulses that fade over time. Real love, real connection, is something profoundly deeper. It's when your existence becomes interwoven into another person's soul. When someone truly holds you in their heart, it isn't about constant words or endless affection. It's about presence. It's about knowing that even in silence, you matter. You become part of their internal narrative, the story they tell themselves about who they are and what gives their life meaning. And there are signs of this, subtle but powerful. They remember the smallest things you've said, not because they tried to, but because it stuck. The way you laughed that one time when everything went wrong, it's burned into their memory. They recall your preferences, your fears, your peculiarities. Those aren't trivial details. Those are the fingerprints of your soul on their heart. So if you ever find yourself wondering whether you're etched into someone's heart, look for the depth, not the noise. Look for sacrifice, for patience, for understanding. Look for the moments when they choose you, not because it's easy, but because it's right. When someone truly loves you, it's not something that exists only in the realm of emotion or fleeting passion. It becomes part of their identity. You stop being an external figure in their life and start becoming integrated into the very structure of how they see the world. That's the extraordinary thing about real love. It's not just a feeling, it's an orientation of being. It changes the architecture of the self. You start influencing how that person interprets meaning, what they value, what they hope for, and what they fear losing. When a person carries you inside them, your presence doesn't depend on proximity. You could be miles apart, you could be silent for months, and yet, somewhere in the back of their mind, your voice still echoes. The things you once said, the way you laughed, the way you looked at them when they were struggling, these details don't fade away. They become embedded in their internal dialogue. You are no longer just someone they love, you are part of their narrative of existence. That's the essence of being etched into someone's heart. It means you have shaped the way they experience themselves. You've become part of their story about what matters. And that's not a small thing, because people at their core live through stories. Every one of us builds a narrative to make sense of our lives. Who we are, what we've suffered, what we seek. When someone becomes part of that narrative, it's an irreversible transformation. You're not easily replaced, not because of sentimentality, but because your role in their personal myth is unique. Think about it. When two people truly connect, they don't just share experiences. They exchange pieces of identity. Each learns something from the other that subtly alters their worldview. Maybe it's courage, maybe it's tenderness, maybe it's the capacity to trust again. Whatever it is, the influence remains long after the relationship stops being visible. That's why love is never truly lost. It's transformed into memory, into principle, into a quiet force that guides future choices. When you become part of someone's heart in that way, you shape their perception of meaning. You're the reason they start to care about things they once ignored. You're the presence that reminds them of beauty when life feels dark. Even the smallest traces, a familiar song, a shared phrase, a particular scent, can awaken a wave of emotion because you've become entangled with their experience of life itself. And this depth doesn't come from constant interaction. It comes from significance. You might meet thousands of people in your lifetime, but only a handful will touch you in a way that rewires your sense of what's important. That's why when you meet someone who truly loves you, it feels different. You sense the gravity. They look at you, and it's not about possession or validation. It's recognition. They see not just who you are, but who you could become. They see your potential, your chaos, your light, and they hold space for all of it. To be etched into someone's heart means they have built room for you inside their internal world. You're there in their decisions. When they choose kindness because you once showed it to them. When they forgive because you taught them what forgiveness feels like. When they face a fear because they remember how you believed in them. You live through them, not as a ghost, but as a quiet, living principle that shapes their actions. And that's why losing such a connection feels so devastating. It's not just the loss of a person, it's the loss of a part of yourself that existed through them. But even then, something remains, because real love leaves a residue, a moral and emotional imprint that doesn't disappear. Even pain becomes sacred when it comes from something meaningful. It reminds you that you were capable of being moved, of caring deeply, of giving part of your soul to another being. People often chase excitement in relationships, thinking passion is the proof of love. But excitement is temporary. It's the spark that lights the fire, not the fire itself. The deeper connection is quieter, steadier, and infinitely more profound. It's what endures when the surface emotions fade. It's what makes someone think of you in moments of stillness, not just moments of pleasure. And if you've ever been loved like that, or have loved someone in that way, You know how it changes you. It makes you more human, more compassionate, more aware of how fragile and precious other people's hearts are. You begin to understand that love is not about control, but about integration. It's not about filling a void, but about expanding your capacity to carry another person within you. In the end, to be etched into someone's heart forever means that your existence has contributed to their meaning. You've become part of their psychological landscape. The mountains they climb, the rivers they cross, the stars they look to when they're lost. It's the most profound form of immortality we can achieve, to live in the stories, memories, and transformations of another soul. That's why love, at its truest form, isn't just emotion. It's transcendence. It's the merging of two identities into a shared field of meaning. When that happens, no matter what comes next, distance, silence, even death, the imprint remains. You become a permanent character in the epic of their life. You can tell when this has happened, not through words, but through presence. The way they listen when you speak, the way they hold your gaze, the way they protect your dignity in your absence. These aren't gestures of convenience, they are signs of integration. Signs that your soul has left a mark. And that mark is forever. Love, when it is real, is rarely loud. It doesn't need to be proclaimed every morning or displayed in grand gestures for the world to see. True love is quiet, steady, and disciplined. It's found in the small acts that go unnoticed. The glance across a crowded room, the hand reaching out in silence, the willingness to listen when words are difficult. It's in the mundane where commitment reveals itself. Words can be beautiful, yes, but they're easy. They're air. Actions, on the other hand, carry weight. They're the evidence of love made manifest in the world. You can always tell the difference between someone who says they love you and someone who truly does. The one who only speaks of love will give you warmth when it's convenient. The one who truly loves will be there when it's not. They'll show up when they're tired. They'll listen when they disagree. They'll stand beside you when no one else does. They may not always say the right thing, and that's what counts. Presence, consistent, dependable, and quietly courageous, is the most honest declaration of love that exists. When someone really holds you in their heart, their actions start to align with your well-being. They become mindful of your feelings, not because they're afraid to lose you, but because they genuinely care about your peace. They'll check in without being asked. They'll remember your worries and your joys, your victories and your fears. These are not rehearsed gestures. They're natural responses born from genuine affection. You matter to them not as an idea, but as a living, breathing person whose existence enriches their own. It's easy to mistake love for attention. We live in a world obsessed with visibility, likes, messages, confessions. But love isn't about constant validation. It's about showing up in ways that mean something. It's about holding someone when they're quiet, not just when they're entertaining. It's about being kind when there's nothing to gain. The true test of love is found in those moments when nobody's watching, because that's when the masks drop. That's when authenticity speaks. People often believe that love should always be effortless, that if it's hard, it must not be right. But that's not true. Real love is effort. But it's the kind that feels meaningful. It's not about endless sacrifice or martyrdom. It's about choosing to act with care even when life gets complicated. It's staying honest when it would be easier to avoid conflict. It's taking the time to understand when it would be easier to turn away. It's patience, not the passive kind, but the kind that stands firm in compassion even under pressure. Actions reveal the moral structure of love. When someone acts with integrity, when they choose empathy over ego, when they forgive without keeping score, they demonstrate that their affection isn't self-serving. They're not with you for comfort or validation. They're with you because something in them recognizes something sacred in you. It's not about perfection, it's about sincerity. Real love doesn't pretend. It shows itself in the way a person treats you when you're vulnerable, not just when you're impressive. Think of it like this: words are a promise, actions are the proof. Anyone can promise loyalty, but only someone with real commitment will stand in the fire with you when things go wrong. When a person loves you deeply, they won't always be eloquent, but they'll be consistent. They'll make you feel safe, not through endless reassurance, but through reliability. They'll keep their word. They'll notice when you're quiet. They'll sense when you're struggling, and they'll try, maybe imperfectly, but earnestly, to make things better. That's love in motion. And this kind of love isn't dramatic. It's not always cinematic or grand. It's often ordinary. And that's what makes it powerful. It's waking up early to make sure you're okay. It's driving across town just to see you for a few minutes. It's remembering your favorite song, your least favorite food, the story that always makes you smile. It's those tiny, deliberate acts that say, I see you. You matter. These gestures don't shout. They whisper. But their echo lasts much longer than any spoken declaration. When love is authentic, it's not about control or performance. It's not about demanding constant attention or proving one's worth. It's about freedom. The freedom to be yourself without fear of rejection. Actions grounded in love create safety. They tell you silently but surely that you don't have to earn affection. You just have to be. You can make mistakes, you can stumble, and they'll still hold space for you. That's what separates love from infatuation. One expects you to remain perfect. The other helps you become real. And the irony is the people who love like this are often underestimated. They're not loud. They don't make grand romantic speeches. But when they leave, you feel it. You realize that what you lost wasn't just a partner, but a sense of grounding. The invisible web of small actions that held your world together. Because love isn't built on one big moment, it's built on thousands of tiny ones. The smiles, the listening, the patience, the forgiveness, the effort that never asked for applause. The truth is, we remember people not for what they said, but for how they made us feel. You might forget their words, but you'll never forget how their actions made you feel safe, seen, understood. That's the legacy of love. It imprints on your emotional memory. It changes the way you expect to be treated. It redefines what kindness feels like. So if you want to know whether someone truly loves you, don't listen too hard to their declarations. Watch what they do when it's inconvenient. Notice how they respond to your silence, to your sadness, to your imperfections. That's where love speaks its truest language. In the end, the actions of love don't have to be perfect. They just have to be real. Because love that's genuine isn't about always getting it right. It's about never giving up on trying. It's the effort that keeps showing up quietly, persistently, faithfully. The kind that doesn't need to say, I love you, because every gesture already does. Love, in its truest form, doesn't reveal its strength in moments of comfort. It shows its face when everything starts to fall apart. When the storms come, when misunderstanding, fatigue, and disappointment begin to eat at the edges. That's when you discover whether what you have is love or illusion. It's easy to love someone when they're at their best, when they're charming, composed, and full of life. But real love begins where comfort ends. It begins in the mess, in the complexity, in the ordinary suffering that every life inevitably brings. You see, people think that love should always feel good, that if it hurts, it must be broken. But that's not true. Love will hurt, not because it's wrong, but because it demands growth. And growth always comes with pain. When you love someone deeply, you are forced to confront parts of yourself that are impatient, selfish, fearful, insecure. Love exposes you. It doesn't let you hide. It asks you to rise to a higher standard. Not because your partner demands it, but because love itself requires it. The truth is, anyone can love the version of you that's easy to love. The version that's smiling, productive, grateful, successful. But the one who truly loves you will stay when that version collapses. When you're anxious, when you've failed, when you're not sure who you are anymore. They won't run from your brokenness. They'll sit with it. They won't fix you, but they'll stay beside you as you rebuild. That's love in its most sacred form. The kind that endures even when there's nothing to gain. When everything goes wrong, that's when the mask of affection falls off. People who are with you for comfort, for pleasure, for convenience, they disappear. But the one who stays when life turns ugly, they're revealing something divine. They're showing that their commitment isn't transactional. It's not based on your beauty, your success, or your ability to make them happy. It's based on something deeper, the recognition of your shared humanity. They see you not as a possession, but as a person, flawed, fragile, and worthy of love nonetheless. Love tested by struggle becomes stronger, purer, more meaningful. It's like metal refined in fire. The heat burns away what's false and leaves behind what's real. When you go through pain together, something happens. You begin to understand each other in a way that words can't describe. You learn that loyalty isn't about convenience. It's about choice. To love someone in their weakness, to forgive them when it's hard, to continue believing in the connection when everything around you says give up. That's where love proves its worth. And the beauty of it is, such love transforms you. It humbles you. It teaches you patience and empathy. You start realizing that love isn't about perfection, it's about endurance. It's not about keeping score, it's about showing grace. Every argument you work through, every misunderstanding you heal from, every moment you choose compassion over pride, those are the moments that build the unbreakable bond. You stop asking, how do I make this easier? And start asking, how do I make this stronger? There's a strange paradox in love. The harder it is, the deeper it becomes. Because suffering together, not out of cruelty, but out of shared humanity, binds two people in a way nothing else can. You start to see each other not as flawless heroes, but as fellow travelers through chaos. And when you can still reach out your hand to that person, still choose them despite their imperfections, that's when you know your love has matured. Forgiveness plays a crucial role here. Real love doesn't hold grudges. It doesn't weaponize mistakes. It acknowledges pain but chooses understanding. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means refusing to let bitterness win. Every time you forgive, you renew the connection, you rebuild trust. You say, our relationship matters more than my pride. That's not weakness. That's extraordinary strength. It's the kind of courage that sustains love for decades, not just seasons. And in this process, both people grow. Struggle and love isn't meant to destroy, it's meant to refine. It teaches you to communicate, to listen, to be vulnerable. You begin to see that love isn't a feeling that comes and goes. It's a discipline. It's a daily practice of choosing patience, empathy, and humility. It's choosing to stay when you could walk away, choosing to understand instead of to judge. This is why the most enduring relationships often belong to people who faced hardship together. They've been tested. They've seen each other's worst and still decided to stay. There's a quiet kind of heroism in that. To look at another person, wounded and imperfect, and still say, you're mine, I'm not leaving. That's not weakness, that's moral courage. That's love that has seen the darkness and chosen light anyway. When people say love conquers all, it's not a cliché. It's a truth about endurance, about the ability of two people to overcome chaos, not because they're perfect, but because they're willing. The willingness to keep going, to keep trying, to keep forgiving, that's the real foundation of any lasting relationship. And in those moments of struggle, when the world seems to be pulling you apart, something miraculous happens. You begin to see that love isn't fragile. It's resilient. It's built for storms. It's not destroyed by conflict. It's deepened by it. Because love that has never faced adversity is untested. It's fragile, like glass. But love that has endured pain and survived, that love is unbreakable. So when life tests your relationship, don't rush to escape the discomfort. Don't assume the struggle means you're failing. It might mean you're finally growing into something real. Love is proven not when it's easy, but when it's hard, when you can still look at each other after everything, after the anger, the tears, the disappointments, and say, I'm still here. That's what it means to be etched into someone's heart forever, because the one who stays through the struggle isn't just someone who loves you. There's someone who's chosen to build a life with you, despite the odds. That's love's ultimate test. And its greatest triumph. There are some connections that time cannot weaken and distance cannot erase. They exist beyond the boundaries of circumstance, beyond logic, beyond the physical. When you have truly been etched into someone's heart, you occupy a space in their inner world that remains untouched by change. You live there quietly, not as a memory that fades, but as a presence that endures. It's not about constant communication or physical closeness. It's about something much deeper. The spiritual bond that forms when two souls have genuinely recognized each other. You can be far apart, living separate lives, surrounded by new faces and responsibilities, and yet, in moments of stillness, they come to mind. It's not deliberate, it just happens. Their voice, they're louder, the lessons they taught you. They return like echoes from a place you can't see but can always feel. That's because real connection doesn't vanish with time. It weaves itself into the subconscious. It becomes part of your emotional architecture, influencing your thoughts, your decisions, even your dreams. When love is true, it's not limited to the present moment. It creates a resonance, a kind of emotional frequency that keeps vibrating across time. You might not speak for months or years, but the affection doesn't rot away. It simply transforms from passion into peace, from desire into gratitude. And sometimes, when life brings you face to face again, that feeling reignites effortlessly, as if no time has passed at all. That's the unmistakable signature of a bond that transcends circumstance. It's a mistake to think that love dies when people part ways. What actually dies is the form, the daily rituals, the shared routines, the visible gestures. But the essence, the invisible current between two hearts, remains. You can sense it in the quiet moments when your mind drifts toward them for no reason. You feel it in the way your heart softens when you hear their name, not with longing, but with a kind of sacred familiarity. They've become a permanent thread in the tapestry of who you are. And this kind of connection doesn't happen with everyone. It's rare because it's built on something deeper than attraction or compatibility. It's built on truth. When two people meet at the level of truth, when they've seen each other's real selves without pretense or masks, that encounter leaves a mark that time cannot wash away. It changes both of you. You walk away carrying pieces of each other's souls, and no matter where life takes you, those pieces remain. This is why people sometimes find themselves thinking about someone from their past and feeling inexplicably moved. It's not nostalgia, it's recognition. The soul doesn't forget what it has once known deeply. Love that's genuine is not stored in memory, it's stored in being. It becomes part of the fabric of your existence. That's why even after years, when you cross paths again, the connection feels immediate. It's not about reliving the past. It's about remembering that something real once existed and perhaps still does. Distance, in fact, often reveals the truth about love. When you're no longer physically together, the illusions fade. What's left is authenticity. If the bond endures even when it's silent, that's how you know it was real. Because imitation love depends on presence. It needs attention, it needs reward, but real love endures absence. It doesn't need constant reassurance, it simply is. It lives quietly like a light burning beneath the surface, steady and unyielding. Sometimes this eternal bond doesn't mean you'll end up together again. It doesn't promise reconciliation or resolution. What it does promise is meaning. Because even if paths diverge, the love that once existed continues to shape both lives. It becomes a quiet teacher. It reminds you of who you were, what you learned, what you're capable of feeling. It leaves you wiser, softer, more human. The love might not stay in form, but it stays in essence, and essence is what truly matters. When someone is etched into your heart forever, they become a reference point in your emotional map. You compare moments to them, not out of longing, but because they represent something essential, the experience of being seen, understood, and valued without condition. They taught you what love could be, and even if they're gone, that knowledge remains. It shapes how you love others, how you forgive, how you heal. That's their legacy in you. There's also something profoundly spiritual about this kind of love. It transcends ego. It teaches humility. It reminds you that human connection isn't about ownership. It's about recognition. You can love someone deeply without needing to possess them. You can carry them in your heart without demanding their presence. That's maturity, understanding that love isn't always meant to stay, but it is always meant to teach. And sometimes, years later, life brings you full circle. You meet again, not as who you were, but as who you've become, stronger, wiser, more open. And in that moment, you realize the bond never really ended. It simply evolved. The affection has matured into something calm, grounded, and eternal. It's not the intensity of youth, it's the serenity of truth. Time then becomes irrelevant, because what's timeless cannot be touched by it. When love exists at that level, when it becomes part of your moral and emotional DNA, it doesn't vanish when you're apart, and it doesn't depend on words to survive. It simply continues, quietly anchoring you in the knowledge that you were truly known once, and that knowing has made all the difference. So when you find yourself thinking of someone who once mattered deeply, when their memory brings warmth instead of pain, understand that what you're feeling is not weakness. It's proof that something sacred passed through your life and left it changed. You were touched by something that defied time and space, and that is no small thing. In the end, eternal bonds are not about possession or permanence. They are about transformation. The ones we carry with us, even when they're gone, are the ones who shaped our souls. They taught us how to see the world, how to give, how to endure. And in that sense, they never truly leave. They become part of the eternal story we tell ourselves, the story of who we are and what it means to love.